Salutations friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video I'm going to be reviewing and chatting with you guys about Oud Jasmine from Royal Crown. I'm really excited to bring this review to you guys, specifically because this is a fragrance that I have been really interested in for the past few years, and I blind bought it and I got it. I was so excited, and it's one of those fragrances that just exceeded my expectations. So I wanted to bring this fragrance to you, review it for you guys, and also chat with you guys about this fragrance too. So if you'd like to know what I think about Oud Jasmine from Royal Crown, then keep watching. First things first, this was a purchase, a blind buy in fact. I know it is an incredibly pricey fragrance, but it is something I've had my eye on for years, so I am excited to finally have it in my collection. But I did purchase this. This was not given to me to review. The other thing is that I'm going to be chatting a lot in this video. I'm not going to be breaking down this fragrance so much in a way of smell these notes and this, you know, and kind of having it be short. I really want to talk about this fragrance because that's the reason why I'm really excited to review it for you guys, is because there's a lot of sentimentality that is surrounding this fragrance, even though I've only had it in my collection for a little bit. Now, Steven, Redolessence, and Joe sent me the first place I heard about this review. I was watching their review of this a few years ago. They have a fantastic, perfect breakdown of the scent in regards to how it performs, how it smells, and really going into the notes. So if you're looking for that type of review, I'm going to link their review below. Go check it out. I just wanted you guys to know, if that's the type of review you're looking for from me, this is going to be a chattier video. But I did want to talk to you guys about this scent. Now, Royal Crown is a house that I've recently, within the past year, really fallen in love with. I have about 7 fragrances from them. One of them was given to me to review, and that was the fragrance that really kind of got me excited for this house. I already knew about fragrances from this house. Specifically, Oud Jasmine was the one that was on the top of my list. And then I just got really excited. I purchased one, I purchased another, and it's just come a house that I'm looking to add them all to my collection at some point in the future. So the reason why Oud Jasmine specifically stuck out to me as a fragrance I wanted to try is I love Oud and I love Jasmine, and hearing the review on this and having an experience with this house and really liking the way that they craft their fragrances and just loving the house in general in regards to presentation, how their fragrances smell, how they performed, I was really excited to give this fragrance a shot. Now, to set up this long chatty video, we're going to talk a little bit about my childhood. And if you are new to my channel, hi, I'm so sorry. I am more chatty than reviewy here. But the reason why I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about this fragrance is that it was a blind buy. It was a very expensive blind buy, and it exceeded my expectations. So the reason why I'm so excited for this fragrance is because it smells like my dreams. And when I did my top 10 more favorite blind buy videos I did a few days ago, I talked specifically about what I mean when I say that. Growing up, I would always go to sleep with the smell of jasmine, because right outside my window there was a night blooming jasmine bush. And I would wake up to the smell of gardenia, because right by the front door there was a big old gardenia bush. So I would have this like kind of cool, like indolic, sweet, honeyed, kind of like dewy jasmine smell, because, you know, like Florida's humid. And so that kind of like really worked with this kind of like indolic, wet jasmine smell. Very green, just very honeyed, very sweet. And then waking up again with gardenia. So when I mean that this fragrance smells like my dreams, it smells like it's a smell I would go to sleep to almost every single night, because I smell that almost every single night. And if you guys have ever had any jasmine bush, you guys know how fragrant those things are. They are powerful little things. So for me, this smells like that. So we're gonna go a little bit into the notes. Again, if you want a better note breakdown and comparison and kind of seeing how it really performs in regards to how it develops on the skin, in regards to notes, definitely watch Joe and Steven's video. But the notes I specifically want to reference are the obviously jasmine, sambac. There's other flowers in there like rose and ylang, but I really want to talk about 2 very specific aromatic notes, and that's the cardamom and the clove. So the first thing is is if you are scared of oud, if you are intimidated by oud, if you do not like oud, and that is totally fine. Even though the first word in this fragrance is Oud Jasmine, it really is not there in any way to intimidate or overpower the other notes. This is one of those instances where the oud is a very beautiful, robust, easier to wear oud than some of the other fragrances out there with oud in the name, even from this house. It's not an animalic oud, although there are some animalic elements to it. It's a very soft, easy to understand oud. Very, very, very well picked out and perfectly blended with the other notes. It's really there for a jumping off point to kind of pair with the jasmine and add some substance and presence to the fragrance, rather than just, you know, being oud and overpowering and overtaking the entire composition. The jasmine Sambac is perfect because I find it to be a very honeyed, very sweet, semi-indolic jasmine. And I really like the fact that it's a little bit thicker, it's a little bit sweeter, and it's a little bit more syrupy of a jasmine. I love dirtier, dry jasmines. I love bright green jasmines, but I think with the mix of ouds and the way this fragrance smells and its composition, I think that that jasmine Sambac, that indolic honey jasmine, is just perfect. We're also going to talk a little bit about these aromatics. The aromatics, to me, I think are what really set the mood for this fragrance. Now, aromatics are so important to me, and they're kind of like the salt and pepper to a fragrance in regards to seasoning a composition. You can over season or you can under season, and you want to make sure you use the right seasonings too. And I think that when we look at aromatics, we can look at kind of more warm smelling aromatics like cinnamon, and then you have more cool smelling aromatics like cardamom and clove. You also have basil, and I would say thyme is maybe more of a warm aromatic, where rosemary might be a more of a, again, the middle could be hot or cold. What I like about the cinnamon and the cardamom being cold is it's kind of working with the jasmine to kind of make it smell a little bit heavier, a little bit more spiced, a little bit more peppery, but not in a way that ruins the jasmine. I think that the coolness with the wood makes it smell again like a very wet, indolic, honeyed, sweet smell that to me kind of reminisces the nighttime. And I think that if it were warm, it would be more of a day smelling fragrance, like a more of a warm smelling fragrance. But again, when I'm talking about this smelling like my dreams, I'm talking about going to sleep, smelling the cool air outside, smelling the whiffs of jasmine, the woods from trees. That's what this smells like. And I think because it has that coolness to it, it's definitely mimicking like a nighttime smell, a cool evening, a cool night. And I love that. And I think that that's so perfectly just blended and come together to create this really beautiful experience. So we have other notes in there. There's obviously gray musk, there's tonkin, you have some beautiful rose in there. All of these other notes and, you know, things and minerals and vegetables, so I tell you I'm not very good at reviewing fragrances, really come together to create a very opulent fragrance. This is a very opulent smelling fragrance, but it is very jasmine heavy. And I think that is something that I really enjoy too, because it's really easy for jasmine to get lost in different florals. It's really easy for jasmine to get lost in woods and to play a supporting role. Or the jasmine can be too harsh, it can be too sharp, it can be too green, it can be too dry. And I think that coming together to kind of create this very woody, aromatic, very smooth, sweet, honeyed jasmine experience is really beautiful. Saffron is in here too, and as much as I adore saffron, it can easily overpower a fragrance. But again, everything is really coming together to create this really beautiful, sweet, indolic jasmine fragrance that smells, again, like a really beautiful, cool night. And it's just something that I'm just, scent memory-wise, nostalgia-wise, just really digging. Now, aside from my chitty-chatty about my childhood and kind of going into weird culinary references, as if you are familiar with my channel, you must be used to by now. I think if you're looking to spend hundreds of dollars on a fragrance, you have to have specific things that it meets in regards to being worth it. So we're going to talk about performance, we're going to talk about how it develops on the skin, and I'm going to tell you if I think in general paying for this fragrance is worth it, because even though I think it's worth it based on my sensibilities and how I collect fragrances and things like that, I'm a more do as I say, not as I do type of person. So we're going to get into that too. The first thing we're going to talk about is how this fragrance smells and develops on the skin. And the first thing I'm going to say is, again, if you do not like oud fragrances, I don't think you're going to be as turned off by this fragrance as you would by other ouds. This is not an animalic oud. This is not a very scary, challenging oud. The oud is there not as an afterthought, but more as a foundation for the other notes to play off of. You do smell oud in this fragrance, but it's more woody and more deep and kind of more mysterious and less dry and challenging and sharp and barnyardy. It's a little bit animalic, but not nearly animalic as some other ouds out there. It's a very approachable and easy to wear oud fragrance. So if you don't like ouds at all, I probably wouldn't recommend this fragrance because it does smell of oud. But if you're a little bit challenged by oud fragrances and you want to smell something that is a great introductory to oud scents and you don't mind spending a pretty penny on a bottle of perfume, this is a great one. But again, it's very expensive, so I probably wouldn't recommend it as an introductory oud scent. But don't be scared of the oud in this fragrance. It's not a scary oud. It starts off on your skin very heavy in florals, very creamy. And what I like about this fragrance is that it starts off where you kind of smell all the flowers, and then after about 10 to 15 minutes, the jasmine kind of is what comes out and kind of rolls over everything. So it takes a little bit for everything to kind of settle on your skin and then jasmine to be really predominant. When the jasmine comes out, that's when the aromatics come out too. You'll get little whiffs of cardamom, which I think is just so, I love cardamom in fragrances, you guys. I don't know how many times I have to tell you guys I love cardamom in fragrances. It's just so good. And I love the clove in here too. It adds just a little touch of aromatics, pepperiness, just a little bit to kind of calm the overly indolic jasmine sambac. The woods are there. You've got a beautiful kind of like grassy vetiver, gray amber, which I think is just perfect. You have musks and tonkin in there, which kind of really help to build this beautiful foundation where the jasmine just sings on top of it. And I think that that's what I really like about this fragrance, is that everything in this fragrance is used and chosen to really put a spotlight on this jasmine. And the jasmine is just perfect in regards to being creamy and honeyed and indolic and very authentic. And I think that if you love jasmine and you like really beautiful, interesting, but wearable white floral fragrances, I think this is a must try. As it develops on your skin, the jasmine is still very prevalent, but it gets a little tiny bit more resinous and a little bit more woody. But I find that the jasmine is there from start to finish and is very predominant start to finish, at least on my skin, which is something I was really happy to see. It smells cool, it smells indolic, it smells creamy, it smells honey, it smells woody, slightly animalic. So if you like all of those types of notes and fragrances and smells, then I think you're really going to enjoy this fragrance. Now, performance of this fragrance is very, very good, at least on my skin and where I live. Remember, I do live in the tropics, even though I live in Central Florida now. I lived in South Florida before, so a good performing fragrance on my skin. If it's not an expensive fragrance, or if it's something that doesn't have the composition to be like a super beastie fragrance, I expect 4 to 6 hours. For fragrances that are expensive, or the composition is something that I would assume would last on my skin longer, I look for at least 6 to 8. For me, 6 to 8 hours is other people's like 10 to 12. This fragrance has oud and other woods and other types of notes that I would expect to stick to my skin. And I'm happy to say, at least on my skin, I get 6 to 8 hours. This doesn't have much in the way of projection and sillage that it's going to completely fill a room, but it does have moderate to mild sillage. So I've been using social distancing as a great example of if somebody will be able to smell you. I do not think this is the type of fragrance that somebody will be able to smell if you are social distancing, so about 6 feet apart. but I don't think that this is something that if somebody was, you know, somebody that's more intimate or in your circle, or if, you know, it's kind of a little bit closer to you, maybe like arm's length, they'll be able to pick it up, but not like much longer than that. And I think for fragrances that are white flowers, that are ouds, that are complex like this, I think that's acceptable. Now, some people want a long-lasting fragrance when they're spending hundreds of dollars on a bottle of perfume. So if that is something that you absolutely have to have in regards to spending money, if it's worth it to you, if that's one of the only things that you will feel comfortable investing in a fragrance, if it has beastly performance, this will not be the fragrance for you. So don't, you know, maybe try and get a sample of it to try it, but I wouldn't just go blindly purchasing this fragrance, even if you like the idea of its smells, because you'll be disappointed by its performance in regards to its projection and see. At the end of the day, I really think Oud Jasmine from Royal Crown is a really ridiculously beautiful fragrance, especially if you are a white floral lover, especially if you are a jasmine lover. I don't know if you guys know how much I love jasmine. This little guy right here actually has a little bit of jasmine oil in it, and I'll like smell it from time to time because it does smell like jasmine. I'm so comforted and so uplifted by the scent of jasmine in any of its ways. If it's grassy, if it's dirty, if it's indolic, if it's green, if it's fresh. No, I just love jasmine. So I was really excited to finally be able to get this, and when I smelled it on my skin for the first time, I was completely blown away. I love it for sniff, and I was very happy with my purchase. So I just wanted to share this review with you guys and talk to you guys about this fragrance because it is an expensive fragrance. This brand is a little bit talked about. I know that, again, Joe and Radolescent Steven did an amazing job reviewing it. So I really hope you guys go check out their review if you want a little bit more of a proper breakdown on how this smells and performs and things like that, especially if you really want to know a little bit more about the notes. That's the best review to go. But I wanted to put my own opinion out there on this fragrance because it is one that I am so happy to have in my collection, and something that I've only had in my collection for a little bit, but it's already one of my favorites. So if you guys have had an opportunity to try this fragrance, I would love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below. If you've tried any other fragrances from Royal Crown, I would love to know which are your favorites, which are your least favorites, or what do you think about the brand in general. I know that their fragrances are very pricey and some people have some very real feelings on it. So I'd love to know what you guys think, positive or negative, in the comment section below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.